I see a whole bunch in already. We are live. Hopefully everything is going well. I always wonder when I first start off, the very nice gentleman next to me here, Dom, you want to say hello real quick there?
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Always a pleasure to be on Don's channel. I know almost everybody who is in the chat because we are one big, happy family, pretty much. So, yep. So, my name is Dominic. For those of you who don't know me, I go by the name Primetime Treasure Hunter. It's the name of my YouTube channel as well. And like Don, we both enjoy vintage and collectible items. We love a lot of paper types of items. We love the thrill of the hunt, like many people here in the chat do. We have a big love of learning and history, and we like sharing that with people on YouTube and on Facebook as well. So given all of our common interests and stuff, Don and I have struck up a good friendship over the years. And just continues to get better. And we like to do a lot of shows like this together. So this is our latest one. And who knows what is coming down the pike, right, Don?
Yeah, I'll have to shout this one out here. I think we've both talked about it already. There's most definitely going to be something special for Christmas, without a doubt. I'm looking forward to it. We've already talked about a few things. As long as I can get Dom to go along with something, I want to show something fun and unique. Dom's a real good sport, and I don't show a lot of people on my channel, but Dom's a real good guy. One of the very few out there that I respect more than anybody else in this field. So I just want to do one more shout out to Pure Hustle Podcast. I was on their show the other day. Since then, I've paid more attention to them. Just call them out. They're actually a pretty good channel, and I don't mention many channels, but I have reached out and we had talked. They will probably be on my show the first of the year. So just wanted to FYI, if you haven't followed them, they are somebody who I have followed on Instagram for months and months and months. But anyway, just thought I would shout that out there. Let's see who's in the house, because I do see, as Dom said, quite a few people. Buy low, sell high. Marty's right below that as well. How you doing, Marty? Penny Day is in the house. Daryl, how are you doing, Daryl? I got Daryl. We got Dom right between Marty and Marty, of course. Hopefully Marty's doing well down in sunny Florida. I thought I saw Carl. Yep, there's Carl. I got Aaron right up on top. I responded to that one, Aaron, too, just FYI. Kathy's running out already. I would guess, yeah, it is morning there. I think what did Duncan say? It's like 10 o'clock in the morning or something there. I got Bob right below. Hey, for those in Patreon, the new video coming up on SEO and keyword is up right this very second. There is going to be a survey on that video right there. Seeing what you think. And the next one's going to have some papers that you can actually fill stuff out in, so you can follow along a little better. Just FYI. Midwest Picker Dave, is that correct? Did I get that right, Dom?
It is Dave. That's right.
I'm trying to get better.
Sometimes known as Gary.
But Gary, did I get that wrong?
No, but his real name is Dave. It's an inside joke, but no, his real name is Dave.
See, now you're gonna mess me up. I'm so bad on names.
He has them. We were just talking before the show how how I have all these stuffed animals and toys around me since my wife won't come on with me, Mrs. Primetime, who we are going to talk about tonight. But Dave, he has a mannequin named Joey who's a star on his channel.
I remember that. I heard that.
So
okay, now you're gonna mess me up. I got Jackass Retro. I'm gonna call it out. Got quite a few Patreons in here. Some people I know it's okay to say your names. Others I don't. So I don't call out everybody's first name. I do apologize if you do want to call it out. Charlie Brown is plotting. Yeah, we talked about him just for a moment too, specifically also. So that's pretty funny too. That's Red Cardinal Treasures up there. Swamp Picker, how are you doing as well? Marilyn Hudson. Northern California. We were out in Whittier it's been a long time now, but out in the Whittier area. Let's see. Who am I missing now? Blackberry Thistle. Thistle Tea. I'm sorry, no issues here. Are you a collector? Well, welcome in. Welcome in. Yes, masters. 2 masters in the house. Don's feed may catch up. Yeah, I don't know what it is. I have the fastest speed no matter what. Whenever I go on with something with anybody else, I have this issue. It always seems to run laggy. Joe Laley, how you doing? Bradenton, I know the area very, very well. We used to stay at Alternate 19, right off near Honeymoon Island in that area, 19th Avenue West. Let's see here. I learned so much. 22 years of selling on eBay. Well, congratulations. I may have run into you at some point when we were down in that area if you were outsourcing post-road photos. We're going to pop back in and let's hit the topic at hand. And hang on one second. I've been talking on the phone all day long today. The topic on hand is hard work. Now, I've talked to Dom, and we've been talking back and forth. And you get to a point where, at least for me, and I think Dom's the same way. I know if you fall asleep on the sofa when you know you got stuff to do because you've just been working so long, I think you're on the same wavelength. You get to a point where you can advance your business, but if you're not willing to put that extra work in, the hard, true effort into it, it's not going to get anywhere to some extent. Dom, and we were talking, he said as well, too, that we're going to talk about his wife for a few moments here. My wife as well does the same thing at this point and has for a very long time. Upping your game. However you can up your game, it may take some more effort. It may take showing somebody else how to do something or bringing somebody else into the picture to up your game. Dom, as we know, it's not like trying to make fun of his wife or anything. My wife doesn't come on very much either, so completely understand. It's the help of it, I guess, is the biggest part. And I know everybody doesn't have a significant other or whatever the case may be, but you can do things by yourself by working more. And I'm not saying push yourself till you kill yourself, but hard work is what it takes across the board. And far too many people think it's easy and just watch a couple videos and think you're just going to go out there and work 5-hour days. It just doesn't work that way. So I'll let Dom kind of start off on here because I thought that was cool, really exciting to me for what he's got going on there with his wife helping and all that. So I always love to hear that. We're a husband and wife team, and that's another part. I love the family aspect, and Dom's just as much of a family man for me as anybody else.
Yeah, that is another thing that we have in common, speaking of commonalities. But, my wife, who we affectionately refer to as Mrs. Primetime on my channel, she has always been an important part of my business, but in a different way than she is now, in which she's getting even more involved. So when we used to source, and speaking of Florida, down in South Florida at the swap shop, she would go with me and she would pick out items. I'd pick out items and we'd list them on eBay, put them up together. But then, eventually that kind of was something that just kind of faded to the side as she pursued, her own career. And so, over the more recent years, as I've got involved, occasionally, she'd come along to an estate sale or rummage sale, garage sale, and I film that in videos. I'll show her hands or her shoulder or feet or something like that, like a real quick view. But I'll show some things that she, picked out here and there that she thought was interesting, and then I'd list it, and eventually it all pretty much sells. She's got a very good eye, but I've always wanted her to, take even more of a role, like a more significant step up, because it would, really help me out and ease things on my end, given the amount of time that I put into it and other things. And I just could not find the right hook for the longest time. No matter what it was that I threw out there and suggested, it just wasn't the right situation or the right thing. And so, you need to find something, you need to be motivated to do it. And so what happened was about, I'd say like 1 or 2 months ago, I had Kat, the nurse, Flipper on, who she knew because I had been, talking about her recently. And Kat was talking about how she was doing some sourcing online on Shop Goodwill and some other places like HighBid. And so Mrs. Primetime got interested in that, and she watched the show, and she decided to start doing some searches on Shop Goodwill, and she found, coincidentally, a Disney pin and Disney jewelry lot. Now, like Don and his wife, my wife and I are, huge Disney fans, and my wife is a Disney pin collector. She loves doing all the pin trading when we go to Disney and all that sort of stuff. So she found this lot that she thought that she could make a, good return on investment on. And it was her first one that she wanted to get. And it wound up being about a $285 investment. But we wound up getting our money back actually in just a few pieces. It wound up being about 150 pieces that worked out to like, a buck and change a piece for everything that we wound up getting. It was really a great score overall. Like one of the pins sold for $80. There was a magic band that was a limited edition that sold for $100. There was a jewelry piece that sold for $150. So we made it back real quick, and then had all these leftover items. And she got really excited about that. She was motivated. She started listing, and then she started getting some other lots, like some smaller Disney lots, and then she got this bigger. The biggest lot that she got was a 300 plus piece animal jewelry lot, because she loves animals and she loves jewelry. So she's finding things that she likes. She's getting them in bulk. And, we've already made our money back pretty quickly on the animal jewelry lot after selling just 4 pieces. And there were over 300 pieces in that lot. So she's having a lot of fun with that. I did 2 unboxing videos based off of it. So it's good because it's giving me content for my channel, and people have been interested, have reached out. And it's helped me out a lot, though, because if you go to my eBay store, you'll see all the jewelry listings and the Disney listings. Those are all ones that she did. I tried teaching her in the past how to list, and she'd watch for like 1 or 2 times, and then it just wouldn't go anywhere. But with this, it was the most motivated I've ever seen her, and she's like a listing machine some days. And she tries to list something every day. And it's been immensely helpful. I mean, I think she's put up about 50 listings so far. She's doing a lot of research. She's learning a lot about photography. I mean, she's just totally diving into it. And I'm just excited, because if that keeps up, Don, things with my store are just going to, really grow, like as the topic of the show next year, because it's given me the chance to put items into the store that I normally would not have had. Yeah, once in a while I might have a jewelry piece, once in a while I might have a Disney item, but not to this extent. And it's only possible because of her. And then the last thing I'll say about it is that it really, again, like I said, helps ease the pressure off of me. So for example, when I'm making a YouTube video, I am not normally, it's not possible. I can't do 2 things at once. So I can't put up, listings. Well, if she's putting up listings while I'm making a YouTube video, that's a huge help. So it should kind of take some of the pressure off, and that's a nice thing.
That's a excellent example of up in the game in any way you can. When I worked full time, my schedule, and I talked about this before, my schedule was 50 minimum. I was required to do 50 hours minimum. I usually did like 65 or 70 working for somebody else. That's every single week of the month, nonstop, no time off. On my weekends, I had that extra time. So on my weekends, I would run auctions and listings. The wife would help me as well, way back in the day before it was like a full-time business. If it was just me, I would be taking the photos on one day and listing the next day and running them for a week auction. They'd end the next week. And I'd do that every single weekend to build up another part-time business. It took a lot of work to do it. It is hard work. And you can't just go out and find $1,000 item, a $10,000 item, or anything crazy like that on any consistent basis, unless you're working your butt off, in all honesty. I hear far too many people trying to make a plan that you do this, you do that, and you're going to have all that money. It never works that way at all. We've got a whole new different environment. And if you want to grow your business, in my opinion, there's massive opportunities now. And I do mean massive. Everybody is kind of steering towards the internet. So things that weren't popular or you couldn't do even last year are now possibilities at this point. Some sites have sprung up with traffic wise. If I did a traffic comparison, let's say with sites before this and sites now, it's a drastic difference, even from some of the smaller ones. So opportunity alone is out there for all types of things, but those are continuing to keep doing what you're doing now and not getting the results, and not trying to either put a little more effort in or a little more time, or you're going to start to fall behind is a concern, or should be a concern for most people in that ballpark range for revenue. Like if you're only doing 1,000 a week or something, whatever you're doing. I'm not trying to say 1,000's, slow or not slow. Just I'm throwing a number out there. If you want to bust that up to 2,000, you might have to work a heck of a lot more. It took us a very long time to have a sustainable $1,000 a week revenue coming in. It takes time. And if you're not willing to put the effort in, you're not going to grow it. Growing is really the hardest part, I would say. Like Dom sent me taking his store to the next level. I think that was almost word for word one of the comments he made in a text to me. And that was, I'm impressed. I like to hear that from anybody, that you want to step it up. I mean, for us, we've had a lot of stuff rolling around on our side. And now I'm like addicted to the thought of growing it and getting some stuff going, that it's like all consuming to some extent. I mean, it's there's a drive involved, obviously. For me, there is. I mean, I have a vision. I know where I want to go with this, and I know that I've got a drive to get there. I've got kids. I've got the wife. I got the roof over my head. I've got some security in the bank and things like that, and that's what drives me. Maybe Dom, you want to maybe talk about maybe some of your goals or visions on where you want to take this to with bringing the wife in on a more I know obviously she's always there and always helps, because without my wife, even if she didn't do something specific, I would be in a lesser spot. So maybe you can enlighten us maybe on some of your goals and mythology on that.
Well, I think that especially with COVID going on, and amping up all over the country, I think that it's going. In fact, I know from talking to because for people who watch my channel, I do a lot of treasure hunting at estate sales. I actually heard one of the estate sale dealers that I frequently go to recently say, we're not doing many sales over the winter time because we're just concerned about safety. In fact, they're even doing, and I hadn't seen this at all until recently, they're starting to do temperature checks before they even let people come into the house besides the mask requirement. So it's really getting more serious here in New York, for those who don't know where I am. But my point is that I think I'm anticipating there's going to be further restrictions over the next few months, at least in terms of where I could go physically source, which dovetails really nicely with us expanding more into purchasing bigger lots online and diversifying our sourcing that way to get the types of things that we normally wouldn't have picked up. Now, Mrs. Primetime has been doing that lately with a bunch of lots that she's purchased, but it's not something that I've actively ever been involved in terms of the online lot purchasing. However, that's a big goal of mine starting next year. And one of the things I always do, Don, it's just a little tip for people, is if you have an idea of something that you think you might want to change with your business next year, starting January 1st, don't always wait until January 1st. Sometimes start a few weeks earlier just to get your feet wet a little bit in it. I love doing that. So I did that last year with a few goals that I had, and I just started a little bit early and made it like one of the things this year was to really up my my offerings in my store in terms of more eye candy and more like exclusive high-end pieces. Now my store has a lot of that stuff in there. So I've got, the high end and I've got the low end stuff. So I've got that covered. And next year, I really think that in addition to Mrs. Primetime, focusing on more like big bulk lots, that I'm going to be actively doing the same thing in terms of looking for those types of purchases and bringing whatever kind of finds I could get from that. So, more online auctions, online wholesale place, liquidation places, that kind of stuff. I'm going to be looking for not junky kind of stuff, like the kind of stuff that you might get in a purchase from like bulk or something like that. There's a lot of things. I'm talking like something very narrow and targeted and very specific, like the types of stuff that we would like on, like, for example, like a giant lot of ephemera where I could see that I have stuff in there that I know that would do really good and other people would pass up on, or something like these kind of lots that we recently purchased. So something we have some knowledge on, some expertise on, and then could just blow it up on the channel with with offerings. So that's the plan. That's actually the biggest part of my business plan for next year is that. I think it'll bring in a lot more inventory. We could scale it pretty well, because it's going to be similar types of items that come in. So the photography should be similar. The listing template should be similar. and that'll just continue to help. So with me and Mrs. Primetime, if we could do it together all of 2021, boy, oh boy, it's going to be nice.
Yeah, something he mentioned there that I talk about all the time: targeted sourcing. I think the hardest part is getting over the bottleneck of sourcing for most people that I talk to, especially right now. I've probably got a half a dozen people on an average on any given day telling me that they've listed everything they have, even stuff in their house they would have rather kept, just trying to keep the revenue coming in. That seems to be the hardest point. But once you get an area that you know at least something, and again, it takes a lot of work to know an area and understand it, and then to figure out where to get it. And then even when you find it out somewhere, to make sure that it's a good deal. Targeted sourcing for us has been the best. I can just go get 10,000 to something, 5,000 to something, 1,000 to something, even just a couple hundred is good. I got a box coming. Well, it's 2 boxes, but it's 40 pounds of uniform buttons. I wasn't going to take a drive this time, so I've got a massive amount. I'll show it to you literally when we open it. I'll probably video it, but that's the kind of assortment, just like Dom with the Disney collection that they got. I like Disney. I've done stuff for Disney. I worked for Disney. Disney paid for some of my college. I know exactly the feeling when you run across something like a big bulk lot of something that you like. It makes it more enjoyable, just like with his wife and the Disney pins and the jewelry, wanting to list that. My wife loves certain things, and she's happy to list them because she likes to look at them. And we're working on some printed material and some books and some publications, and she's constantly saving images. And I've shown her how to do all kinds of things, and she can help and do a lot more stuff, and she enjoys it.
Right.
So that's part of it, but that goes along with, for at least us and with Dom, because again, I know, his philosophy on that is he's selling stuff he likes. And when you do that, it's like a big boost inside. I get excited when a box shows up, from Columbus or wherever the case may be, or I get an auction purchase and, it's delivered or something, or I got to go pick it up. I'm excited to see what's in this thing.
Don, I'm telling you, I had not went that first time when she first won that Disney lot, the first one. I cannot tell you the look of joy on her face was priceless. She was so happy. It was like she won the lottery. She was so excited to open up this new chapter, and it hasn't stopped. I mean, she's just continued to just build off of that.
Yeah, good point on that as well. I'm excited. I get excited if I'm out in the real world and I see from a distance some dirty old shopping cart full of 78 records or something, dust covered dirt, boxes on it. I'm excited even before I see what's in it, because I got the opportunity to rake something out of this assortment that looks like it hasn't been touched in 10 years. Right. That's exciting. It's like it's literally like I'm out there treasure hunting. Targeted, everything is targeted. If I do something, I'll bypass things that even a estate sale, knowing, sometimes I get an in. I'll know where in the building I need to rush to first, because I do deal with some of the locals. So I'll know where they'll have an item. So instead of going where all the other people are going, the crowd, to get these big expensive things, I'm going to a record stack or the book area or comic books if I'm lucky enough, and I'm targeted. I may only look at those, fill up, and then leave. I may not even look at the rest of the estate sale, because I got such a good deal off the stuff that I got. I don't have to rake out everything, and I don't like messing with a lot of stuff these days. If you target it, like Dom, again, like him and his wife happily getting this massive assortment of Disney paraphernalia, I would be excited. That's the kind of thing that's a targeted one that gets your blood going. You're all excited. It's just an enjoyable experience from start to finish. Dom had a video with the jewelry where his wife spent an evening, I think it was, spreading it all out over the table.
Yeah.
I know that feeling. Me and the wife have done that exact same thing. When I get massive purchases, the toys filled our kitchen table, filled every single counter space that we had and part of the floor. So it's an enjoyable experience when I get a new batch of something in. I just came back home with the van load from an auction or something. It's all over the place. I
Yep.
got it spread out. Even if I'm not listing it right, then I'm examining it. I'm getting together some mental
Yep.
notes on value. You know, this is going to go a lot. That's separate. And I always separate them by lots or individual. And, you know, so I never have to look through them a second time at least. But that's the enjoyable part. Did you find that to be one of the most enjoyable parts?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, the whole hunting part, and then if you're doing it online, like, when you finally realize you actually are the person who won it. I mean, that's awesome. There's so many stages of it, Then there's the delivery, which it's very different from when you go out and you actually grab something at an estate sale and bring it. Doing it online is, it's different, but it's fun in a different way. But then that day that it arrives, and I tease her a couple times, like, oh, I think the FedEx guy's here, but then, when finally we realize the box is there, we get it and bring it in and open it up. It's an exciting thing. And then, empty it, dump it out, process it and everything. It's just a lot of fun because, a few things that are in there. It's very much like what you see on TV with, storage unit types of shows in which you could see some things, but then and you have an idea, like, all right, that we know has some value, that has some value, but overall, the bulk of it is, pretty mysterious, but you make inferences based on what the rest of the stuff might be. Like, for example, there were several lanyards down in that first Disney lot that we got, and there were some pins on the front, but we had a pretty strong suspicion that there were pins wrapped around those lanyards because that's what most people do with those lanyards. And sure enough, when it showed up, there were all these pins around the lanyards that, we're seeing for the first time. And it's like, ooh, look at this one. Look at this one. Look at that one. Same thing with the animal jewelry lot. It was a lot of fun. And then, you're learning, which is also a lot of fun as well. We learned a lot about, we know some stuff about jewelry, but we learned a lot about jewelry from this animal pin lot. We learned a lot about different jewelry makers. We actually found one piece, Don, that actually is it's a pretty valuable jewelry piece in that lot. We have it up right now for $200, but it was a nice piece in there that we found. So anyway, but there was a lot of research and investigation. Like, we ran it by several jewelers, including a high-end jeweler, to confirm it, that to make sure that it was what it was that we thought it was. And but again, the learning process is another step of it that's fun, because you're never going to know 100% about everything. So, adding to that knowledge base is always good.
Yeah, the wife loves the jewelry. The wife takes every single photo we take of jewelry. The wife takes them, every single one. I got the hands, the neck stands, and all that stuff for necklaces and all that. I love selling jewelry. I don't mind looking at it because some of those pieces are work of art. Especially, I've got videos even on it. The intricacy of the amount. A lot of the earlier pieces of jewelry are literally hand riveted together. Every single piece, every single stone. Some of the cut steel ones have like 60, 70 individual pieces. Getting into the actual aspect of buying, though, these massive lots, you got a lot of work into separating them. Especially if you're learning, like, getting into jewelry and stuff, there's a lot to know, and that's a lot of work if you don't know, like, markings and makers and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I always get excited on jewelry too, because I know the wife. In fact, I've got a bag of some costume rings over here. I always know the first thing that happens, I'm going to have them spread out, and the wife's going to come on down and pick the ones that she wants. She usually ends up keeping at least one or two of, I think, every single, if there's something in there she likes. Jewelry, it's always neat to find. But again, it's a targeted sourcing. You're going after a big bulk lot of jewelry. Hang on, I forgot. Daryl, thank you very kindly for the super chat. I noticed it just popped up on this side over here. I know that's a little far behind, but I honestly and sincerely do appreciate that, Daryl. Nothing you have to do, though, but thank you very kindly. I did respond to your last post with another link for you for the location of that place. I found it for you. But anyway, I do thank you very kindly. Everything you do, if again, we're coming up to the new year, everybody should hopefully have some plans, some goals for 2021. If you don't have something, you better start thinking and writing something down before the end of this month. So you got a good 30 days to think and get some ideas rolling along. If there are two of you, it's a husband and wife, or husband or whoever, just two people, two friends, whatever the case may be. I would recommend doing some brainstorming and coming up with new avenues, new areas of revenue streams coming in. Again, it's going to take some work. If you plan it ahead of time, you got 30 days if you wait to the end of this month to come up with something. You know, come January 1st, we're rolling with a whole bunch of different stuff coming out here on our end, which we'll be talking about as we get closer. But, you know, having goals, one thing may lead to something else. One thing I can say, even if you do have goals, they can change on a minute's notice. Something could come in there and slam a hammer down on what you were planning on doing and force you to abandon some things. I never take that as you know, an issue. I figure that as a challenge to get over it and figure something else out. I love those sorts of things personally. I know Dom's a very intelligent and how should I say this? He's able to deduct the issues and solve them and move on. That's, I guess, the biggest point. You got to be a sleuth in a lot of what's going on. You can't. Even I got to go ask somebody sometimes on this or that. Dom does too, as he said too. Don't be afraid to ask questions. That's how you learn. Again, it's all hard work from there. Do you want to piggyback or come on to another topic?
Well, no, but I'll just, I guess, wrap this part up. I mean, that's also why, to dovetail off that, why it's important to make a lot of connections and have people that you can reach out to if you have a question on something. Like, I can't tell you how many times I know you have this happen to you, Don, with all the stuff that you're knowledgeable about. People reach out to you and ask your opinion because they know you have expertise in a certain area. So the questions I get asked the most on are comic books. People will send me something, you know, send me some comic books, ask me, is this worth it? Do you see anything there that's valuable? Like that kind of stuff. I get those questions all the time. I don't mind answering them too because it's my passion. It's what I love. But while I know a little bit about jewelry, I'm not a jewelry expert. So we came across this piece right here, and turns out that this was made, this is a Hattie Carnegie piece. And so she is actually a fashion entrepreneur who was based in New York City from the 1920s to the 1950s. And pieces by her are actually worth, you know, quite a, you know, nice chunk of change. So this is the one that I was telling you about. That was the $200 piece that we found. And actually, Don, it's funny because it goes into something else that you've talked about before on your channel, which is, if you talked about this recently in a video, which is, if you're not 100% sure on something, do not list it yet. Put it to the side and do your research. Now, this was a perfect item because when I unboxed it, you want to know how many people sent us a message wanting this?
The wife would have kept that piece. It would have never been listed if we found that. The wife would have kept.
Yeah, that is one of the things that is challenging to resist, is not keeping some of the stuff you source. But so we had lots of people who were asking us about it, and you know, it just that further made us want to investigate even more. But one of the moderators in my Facebook group has been doing jewelry for almost her entire life. She did appraisals with jewelry, and she still sells jewelry. And then she also had a friend, or still has a friend, who's a high-end jeweler. And so I sent them both all different pictures, angles, everything of the piece and everything. And they both were able to verify for me that is a genuine Hattie Carnegie piece. And so, you know, it's just, you know, a perfect example of, if I didn't have those connections and you're just relying on yourself, you're not going to be so certain, you know? And so you take the risk of then putting something up that might not be genuine, might be fake, and you get a ding, that kind of stuff. So, you know, having as many connections as you can in the community, you know, really help you out.
Just talking about not listing something, Daryl, who's in the group, who's out here now, he found a 8mm film, and I'm not going to go into detail because it's not my information to give out. But the point is that without knowing what it is for sure, my recommendation was to him directly today was not to list it until you can pin down some more information on it. I got a big box of just paper items that I won't list until I know exactly what they are. I got a big box of toys. I got a box of books. I got a box of jewelry, even with probably 200 pieces in there that I'm not 100% sure on. A lot of jewelry pieces may not be marked. The marking may have been obliterated by them soldering on a back or however it was made sometimes. So there's a lot of reasons why things won't be able to be identified. So I never list anything. I will keep it here for 10 years as opposed to just throwing it up there. It doesn't take up any space. It's a few boxes. You know, it's not worth throwing it out there and finding out it's some priceless item. I've held on to a piece here. It's a rosary piece. It came in a box and all, and it turned out, this is years ago before I knew what it was, and it turned out it was from a monk from some really oddball place. Never had a clue. I would have just listed it as, you know, some funky rosary, and who knows what it went for. But once I knew the name, the actual name of the monastery or whatever it was from, I got like $500 for this thing. I would have just thrown it up with any of the other ones had I not seen something odd in it that I hadn't seen before. That could be for any item. I wouldn't list it. I didn't list it. Again, I would have probably lost $400. I had nothing into it. So if it sat on a shelf, something I paid a couple bucks for, who cares? At least that's my take on it. I mean, I know you probably...
I want to ask you a question off that, actually, based on something Dave said in the chat there, Midwest Picker. I don't know if you see it. It's at the 7:36 p.m. mark that he said. True story.
No, I can barely keep up.
Okay, so it says, he wrote, true story. I've had a sword for 3+ weeks because the research is taking so long. Won't list it until I know exactly what it is. Now, let me ask you, Don. Let's say Dave does this research, right? It's taken him 3+ weeks, and he finds out that the sword, I'm just making a number up, the sword that he spent $10 on, it's not really a $500 sword, which is what he was thinking. It turns out it's a $20 to $30 sword. Would you consider the time that he spent or anyone doing the research a waste because it didn't wind up being something, you know, being worth something? Or would you still consider it a worthy investment because of the knowledge that he likely gained from that he could carry on going forwards?
Well, I'll answer that in just 1 second. Dave, send me an image of that to my auction professor at att.net email address. I got all the sword guys. I got one of the guys that does North-South Trader Civil War and stuff. If it's a real sword, I might be able to help you with IDing it. But
there we go. Connections, Dave.
I don't consider it a waste of time. The majority of the time that I'm investing effort into something and spending more time on it, I usually, again, the majority of the time, 75%, maybe it's even higher than that, it's worth something, and it's worth the extra time and effort into it. So in the long run, if I waste time on a few items, I get more knowledge on them, I understand a little bit more on them, I won't make the mistake again, and I add it to my knowledge. And even like if it's only worth $30, he paid 10, he's still making a profit. So he's at least getting his money back, and he's got knowledge from it. So swords can be tricky because there's a lot of fakes and stuff like that out there. I got thousands of hours invested into swords, cutlery, and all that stuff as well. I've got a Civil War sword here, actually, right this very second, with all the engraved and flamed blade and all that scabbard and all. And maybe I'll show it in a video. I'm just always hesitant because of weaponry being shown on YouTube. That's one of the warning flags that we get. Maybe I'll show it in Patreon or something, but it's not a waste of time at all. Again,
I agree with you. I wanted to throw that out there because I think that there's situations where, especially if you have a spouse or family members who are around you who are not into reselling and they see you doing that research, inevitably they're probably going to say to you, you're spending all this time doing this research and you're wasting your time. It's good for people to have the confidence to hear from us that, hey, it's actually, like many people in the chat have said, it's lesson learned and it helps you grow.
Dave says, I'm sorry, Dave says it's a ceremonial fraternal. Is it marked like Henderson or MC Lilly or something like that, or Ames? Those are probably one of the top 3 names you might want to look for on there. It's probably going to be marked right by the handle, the handguard.
See, now, Don, there's a good comment in here by Beth. She said, because I this is what I'm picking up on. I think people do sometimes struggle with this. She said, this is a never-ending struggle on how much time to spend researching. Feel like I do so much of that. So, but I think it's time well spent.
When I first started into this, a large chunk of our time was spent on researching because I had no knowledge on most of what we saw, and I mean most of it. I had basics on knowing how to tell if something's old, or at least some of the genre it would be in, because I had a cousin and an uncle who were antique dealers, and I helped them go through my grandmother's estate when she passed away. So I knew a lot of what it was, and I've always been fascinated. We have Henry Ford Museums here. It's a very nice museum. If you haven't been there, they've got the IMAX and the huge theaters, and we've ridden in the Model Ts and stuff. It's a real nice place, I have to say. But I've always been fascinated by that, even as a kid. So have the ability to spend time knowing about this stuff, to me, is enjoyable. I don't consider it work. Maybe I'll have to work a little longer at the end of the day because I spent a little more time doing that. But to me, that's fine, because I do stuff like that, even if it's not worth money. I don't mind. I want to know. We got some carvings here, some wood carvings, and I spent a lot of time. I have no intention on selling it at all. We want it. We bought it for a decorative piece. We've got a lot of carved wood and stuff from some architectural and stuff like that too. I don't care. I spent a lot of time researching to know what it is, so I know what I have. But again, I'm not selling it. I like what I like it. I like even the listing part. I even like the mailing part. I got it so I can do it in my sleep. It doesn't bother me at all. There's no dead stop spot in reselling to me that's not exciting, because it doesn't. I've got patterns. I know Dom does. I got patterns and ways I do everything. So once I get rolling, I'm rolling. I'm thinking at the end of the day, I'm going to have like 50 more items up. And by tonight, I'll probably have a couple $100 more coming in from some of the selling. By the morning, I might have just brought in an extra $500. I mean, I get driven by that. I really get excited. I'm passionate about the whole aspect of this business. And that's not just me saying that to get somebody to watch me, because most people think I'm a little bit out there, which doesn't bother me at all. I don't really care. I'm taking care of myself as Dom takes care of himself and his family, and that's what everybody should do. So anyway, I'm getting a little sidetracked on the conversation.
That's okay. Another thing too, and I think kind of spins off of what we were talking about earlier, targeted sourcing, in which you're trying to target a specific type of item. But there's another kind of branch off of that, which is, you talk a lot about, especially where you are at this point with your business day, you don't really spend time driving around in random spots and stuff.
No.
And I really am not doing that either anymore at this point. In fact, I used to be that I would go, if there was an estate sale going on, I would just go to it, whatever. At this point, I've pretty much made it that it has what I've called now, it's got to meet my oh my God criteria. What that means is I have to look at the pictures online and I have to say, oh my God, I have to go to that one. And if I say that, I'm going. But that's pretty much what it's at this point, because I have enough stuff. I don't need to go out and do it. And it increases the chance that it'll be a good haul video, a good treasure hunt video for people. And the other thing about that is it makes it more efficient use of my time, that I'm generally having that oh my God reaction when I'm seeing a lot of stuff at a place. So, it's not targeted per se, in the sense that I'm necessarily going there to find a specific thing that I see, although I'll get some ideas, obviously, what's there, but I'm more targeting, instead of going to random places or to every instance of something. I'm really narrowing it down in terms of, this is the place this day where I think I can maximize my time, maximize my, my profits down the road. And so I'm going to focus just on that one today.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, so I'll be doing that more and more. And also, here's another thing, feeling comfortable that if a particular weekend doesn't look like there's good stuff going on, don't go out. Stay back and do other stuff. That's another thing. And I actually that's actually something I've got to get better at, because that's tough for me, because I love doing the hunting. That's part of my name and channel. So it'll always be there. I'll always be doing that. But I've got to learn to scale that part of it back more now, as like we're talking about with growth. If you want to grow and list more and expand your store, you've got to be there to do the listing, and you can't be out sourcing. A lot of resellers struggle with that, which is, they love doing the sourcing, but they hate doing the listing and and that kind of stuff. So, but as you grow, you've got to do it. You got to, like you said, adapt and make these changes.
I don't see another way around it. Every person I run into has struggled until they've broken that mold of going out and sourcing constantly for those. Once they figure out something that they can go after, here's an example. I get people, I do a video about some certain item. The question I get all the time, no offense, it's not meant as a crack on anybody, but where the heck do I get those? Where the heck do you find those? That's the hard part. That's the hard part, is figuring out. I don't just turn around, and 5 minutes later I've got, 10,000 of something or 100 of this or 400 of that. I've spent a lot of time and hard work and effort, staring at screens and tracking down sourcings that I can call and see if I can come on out there and look at this. Or do you still have this? I know it's been years. Or somebody told me that you used to collect this, when you were younger, blah, 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 blah. Those are the target ones. That's the ones that get you going into literally like you find a gold map. You got a treasure map here to some extent. Some of the information I'm given to go after stuff might be from some random comment that I got from a guy standing at a sale from, a couple months ago. He gave me some guy's name or something. And then it's a matter of figuring out where the guy still lives, whether he's willing to separate it, how to broach the conversation. Would he be interested in letting go with his, assortment and things like that, or getting on somebody's list when they get rid of part of their collection or estate? It's a lot of work. That's the hard part. It's not hard work. Well, it is hard work. I don't want to get that confused. It's not labor. It's more intelligent work. Hard work, but it's more brain power than it is muscle power. Smarter, of course, than harder, but that's not necessarily the case, because you still may have to work hard. But like targeting in general is hard. It's hard to do. That's why it takes people a long time to figure out. Like Dom's business has morphed. My business has morphed. Both of us have almost a totally different line of business running than we used to have to some extent, because things change. You go off into different items. I of course, I got plans, I got visions, but if something comes my way and it's wow, like Dom's, oh my God, my wow factor here, I hop on it. If he sees wow factor at a sale, chances are there's a lot of something there. So it is the quantity. He is buying in bulk, and that is a targeted, so to speak, as well, because you're targeting something that's going to give you big opportunities all at one single stop, instead of going to 12 different garage sales, 3 different thrift stores all in the same day, trying to get enough to list the very next day or that evening. I mean, that's my take on that part.
Totally agree. Yeah, totally agree. That's another, we've talked about this many times, but that buying in bulk is one of the biggest things you and I have in common. There's kind of I don't know if buying in bulk is necessarily for everybody, but I kind of have, like, there's not in a pathological way, but I have like an obsessive compulsive quality that I just love. Like, I just get so excited. Like, I see all the stuff and I want to process all the stuff, and I want to list all the stuff, and I want to learn about all the stuff, and just having like that massive amount of it just gets me excited just to go through it. And I guess it's a personality quality of mine that I think just draws me to that amount of stuff. Whereas I think other people, Don, would get like turned off by it and be like, no, I'm totally overwhelmed. I hear this actually a lot in estate sales when I go. The estate sale that I did, where I found all of the posters the second day in the barn of the middle of nowhere, I made a fortune off of that. And that was the second day. And the reason why all those posters were still there, and this is the second day, and it was incredible, the posters there, is because there were so many. And everybody who walked into that room while I was there walked in for like 5 seconds. They looked at a couple posters and they literally said that, I can't tell you how many times I heard this. Oh my God, I'm getting anxious. There's so much stuff. It's getting me anxious. I got to get out of here. It's too much. It's too much. So the amount of stuff for me and you, we see it and it's like attractive. We love it. We're like, oh my God, we're like drooling. But my experience is the vast majority of people, they can't process it and it scares them away and they get nervous and they just leave.
When me and the wife first got together, we were in Mississippi and we were driving around hitting all these big, in Mississippi there used to be like schoolhouses, 3 and 4 story ones, huge buildings, floor to floor, antique malls and big stuff. And the ones I loved the most were the ones that were so, I mean, from ceiling to floor, that were so packed with stuff you could barely get through, just shoving with everything all over, because that's where people are going to miss stuff. I already know it's going to eliminate a lot of those people who get claustrophobic. It's going to eliminate a lot of those people who don't like to get dirty or climb around or want to move stuff, or I don't care. Those are my favorite places, the ones that are just packed with stuff from brim to brim. Every one of those places I think we've ever been into has been a treasure trove. I bought my wife a 300 or 400-year-old no-no dancer mask from Japan, and it was on Orange Avenue in Orlando for those from Florida. And there was an antique mall. If you coming off OBT, make a left on Orange Avenue. I think Rock and Roll Heaven used to be down there for those who know the place, but this place has been there for years. It was just packed stuff thrown in everywhere. We got that diamond in the rough out of there. Again, that was just one tiny specific example. I still have that from 25 years ago. It's a treasured piece of our collection. Every place I go that's packed up like that, I make a ton of money. Like Dom in some of the videos where he's crawling underneath like the Star Wars toy hall in the boxes and stuff. That's a perfect example. I don't care if I get dirty. I've ripped clothes. I've ruined my shoes. I have some eye issues. That's a little bit unfortunate, but that's my own fault. But I don't worry about getting cut, scratched, bruised. When I'm in the zone here, I'm just digging. I'm pulling everything out. I want this. I want this. I want this. You know, and you are literally drooling over the stuff. Not just from I'm going to make a lot of money stake. I love looking at the stuff. I could sit here when like I get a bunch of buttons in. I just pulled out of the car, I threw the bag on the counter. The first thing I want to do, even though I've been gone for 7 hours straight, is to dig this bag out and see what's in there. I'm thrilled by that whole notion of it. Or another thing I'll do, I'll buy a big, huge lot. When I'm outsourcing, I look through enough of the lot to know I'm going to make money. And then as soon as I know that, I'll take the whole thing. How much? You know, if I get halfway through it, a quarter through it, I'm still taking it. So I'm loading all this huge, massive stuff. And by the time I get home, I'm all excited. I'll be up until that stuff is sorted through, because I saved half of it or 75% of it to look at home. I'm already making my money, so it didn't matter. It's what treasure am I going to find in there? That's the thrill of it. That's why it's not hard work in my mind. Again, I don't mind long hours. I don't mind, you know, racking my brain here trying to figure out a way or to get over this hump or get over that hump. You know, I know where I'm going with this. I know exactly where my business is heading, and it's going in the direction I want it to, because I'm putting in this effort, putting in the work. You know, just Dom works a full-time job, for crying out loud, and he still does this. His wife helps out. I don't want to give out what your wife does or anything, because that's none of my business to holler out. But the point is, people work and they still do this on the side. I did the exact same thing, working probably the same level of hours and everything is done. We did 60, 65 hours on average. So, and I still did, all my extra time was devoted to that. We did 2 nights, maybe we'd go out, and the rest of it was trying to sock money away. I mean, so that we're not, pardon me, screwed later on in life, not having anything, you know. Right. You're going to get to a point, you got your, you know, I'm getting older. I know Dom's getting older. I don't know how old he is, because I've never asked him, nor is it my business, but you know.
Let's see if anyone can guess in the chat. How about that?
Somebody probably knows, but I don't say my age very much. But the point is,
my age. If people want to guess in the chat, we'll see the guesses and we'll see who gets it right. We'll check back in a minute or so.
Well, let me holler a thank you to Carol here. Thank you very kindly for the $9.99 super chat. It is honestly and sincerely greatly appreciated. Carol says you're 69. I don't know.
I'm not 69, Carol. My goodness gracious. Come on now.
Michelle, 34, 46. I'm 51. I'll give you that.
No one's got it yet. That's the funny thing. No one's got it yet.
No, I'm 51. That's how old I am. I'm 51.
No, man, everyone's off so far. It's amazing.
Are they off in the are they under?
No, I can't say that. That might give it away.
You're 52.
52.
I know that's probably too old for you. You're probably
51. Tessa says 51. Wow. That's great. Carol now at 29. I'm liking that. She subtracted 40 from the 69. So
Duncan saying you're 88.
Everyone's
so I don't
still
know.
off. Everyone's still wrong. This is pretty funny.
Duncan's 51 as well, huh?
Well,
Yeah, midlife. There you go.
Mike. Now, Mike was in the. He said 80s earlier, but
Mike.
now he's at
Mike.
34.
How you doing, Mike?
Well, I can't believe some of these guesses. I mean, they 58. Oh my goodness. Carol says 43. Nope. Sorry, CC.
Well, I
21
think we've said
forever.
almost every number so far, Dom. You got to pretty much
No, they have not hit the number yet. It's amazing. Can you believe this?
36.
You want to throw a guess out there, Don?
47.
Oh, nope.
42.
Someone got it. Do you want me to say?
Go ahead. I want to know now.
Someone got it. Amber is the one who got it there. 45. That is my age. 45.
45.
Chop,
You're
chop,
a little
busy,
kid,
busy.
Dom.
Yeah, right?
You're a youngin'.
Yeah, I like
I
that
think
someone still thinks of me that way, which is good. So,
well,
yeah.
I still call my kids kids, even though they're both adults. It's a kind of hard habit to break, and I hate to do it when there's friends or some business guy over. Hey, kids, get over here. Your kids are still, I think, all minors at this point.
They are teenagers now, so yeah, still minors. But
different story when they're 18 and have their own rights, as opposed to us being responsible.
I am definitely going to take the "I'm just a baby" thing from people in here. That's awesome. I love it.
Well, if you haven't hit the like button too, we've got 142 people in house now. I only got 34 likes. I know I don't even think I said anything about it yet in the conversation, but if you are enjoying the conversation, please hit that thumbs up for us there. It would help the channel, of course. 45, huh? I remember 45. That wasn't too long ago, but yeah, I guess for me in my thinking here, I've wasted a lot of my life doing stuff that I hated with working as a regional or as a general manager. I made good money. I made 6 digits for a very long time before I resold. But, at some point, if you hate it as much as I did, and you hated the atmosphere, you hated the new bosses who come in and think they know everything, even though it's going fine before they came in, there's no going back for me to that kind of thing, I guess, in these days. I don't care what it takes or how hard I have to work or what dedication or devotion I have to put in. Man, we've had some stuff, some information thrown at me that steers me in another direction here. I can't sleep, and I'm not just saying that. I'm lucky these days if I'm getting 3 or 4 hours a night for the last, say, almost 7 days now, because I've got stuff flooding, ideas and thoughts flooding. I don't have enough time to stay awake even to write them all down because of where this has steered us with stuff, and it's alleviated some other issues, which we'll touch on in the near future. But plans change. I had to change stuff again. This is the 3rd time since I started Shopify in end of summer there that we've done drastic changes to some things that we do. You set a goal. If it changes, you change with it and set a new goal. I just got a new goal now, and again, I don't care if it's hard work to get to it. If you start to, I was just talking to somebody today, and I don't want to call out names again, but he quoted a number he was making and how many listings he had up. So, he had a goal to get to a certain point. And another person said something about 10,000 listings here in the chat, that his goal was to get to that. And I've heard that before. That's where our mark kind of changed. Having a goal is super, super awesome. And it's the best thing you can honestly do with this. That is one of the biggest driving factors, trying to get to that goal. And again, if you're that driven, there's somebody else who said they haven't slept and their bedroom has been occupied with new merchandise and things like that. I know the feeling. We started off with 1 shelf in our bedroom, then 2, then it was just our bed and merchandise, and then we had to get a bigger place. Right now, we're trying to find even a bigger place with a warehouse connected to it where we can out in the country. So you got to go with the flow, but always have a goal and never worry if you have to change that. How many times have you had, I know with like Dom, with your water issue, how many times did you have something in mind and then all of a sudden your whole world's blown by something and you have to worry about something else or move stuff around? Your goals changed, your atmosphere changed, your studio area changed, all in the blink of an eye, pretty much.
Yeah, and it's your job to also make sure that if it's something negative that happens that caused your plans to change, that you do everything you can to turn that into a positive. You know, the example that you mentioned is a perfect one, with the flood that happened in my basement, documenting that on my channel. I wouldn't even let it ruin my live show that I had scheduled that night with Osborne to
I
Drift.
remember that.
I was just sitting here sweating, water all over the place. I had a show in like 2 hours. I had to work nonstop to get it just to the point that I could run the show, and you know, just finished my video, put a video up, and just, you know, continued to just go from there. And man, I had obstacle after obstacle with that project, and you know, finally got it done. It slowed me down in terms of achieving goals in other areas, but ultimately, it's the other thing. You got to be forward thinking. You have to realize that if you get thrown off, and you realize that, hey, listen, if I'm doing something here that ultimately it's slowing me down a bit right now, but in the long run, it's going to be for the best. That's okay. That's okay to have a temporary setback for long-term gain.
Well, that isn't really a setback for you, though, because, well, it isn't, because at the end of the day, you got a better area, everything's set up better.
That's what I mean.
Better area.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean. Just temporarily is a little setback, but like I said, long-term gain, like you just mentioned, that's the ultimate thing to focus on, because it's really easy, Don. Like honestly, like when that happened, like it was so overwhelming at that moment. Like the thoughts go through your head like, this is such a drastic thing. Like, is it even worth it? Like, should I even bother anymore, or should I just stop? Like, it's just so much bad is there at one point, and you've got to just quickly axe that. Like I talked about this in my Facebook group today, negative automatic thoughts. You got to monitor those and counter them really quickly, because those kind of things could drag you down really fast. And so, you know, I was like, no. I was like, I felt like Rocky. You know, me and you both love movies. You know, I talk about that. Like, I just felt like I just kept getting knocked down, you know, by Mr. T or Drago or Apollo Creed, and I just kept getting back up, and then I kept getting knocked down again, and I just kept saying, I'm just going to keep getting up faster. You know, in Rocky, he keeps going, yeah, hit me harder, hit me harder, hit me harder. That's what I was like. You have to have that attitude. That's the key to resiliency, because if not, it's just so easy to just give up and stop.
That's funny you brought up Rocky, because I literally, the last 2 days, I've been watching the Sylvester Stallone and Arnold Schwarzenegger videos on talking about the competition, how they hated each other in the 80s and the 90s in the competition, and they're friends now. And we had done a family movie the other day, and we watched one of the Expendables. That's what brought that on. So, you know, movie people as well. So yeah, things like that, I fully get that. You know, I was surprised he was going on, because I had talked to him just before, and he had sent me a picture of the water coming down from the ceiling and everything. So I know the feeling. We've had issues before like that. So diversity and being able to work above and move on and beyond it is what I say. If I even videos, I know Don probably has similar things, but even on videos, if somebody says, you know, they're frustrated and they're just, pardon me, I'll say something I usually don't say, but screw it, you know, eBay this, eBay that, I take it as a challenge. I really do. And I seriously do. There's not a lot of challenges that you get to do these days, you know, once you get to a certain point. And I enjoy, like, doing a crossword puzzle or a word search or something. I enjoy Deco or something. I enjoy all that stuff. So I like the challenge. It makes me think a little more outside the box. And sometimes a challenge or a bad thing like his ceiling, you know, the flooding and all, can lead you in another direction that might give you some new ideas that will even be better off happened. I mean, what's that? Turn a frown into a smile. I know there's some little
turn that frown upside down, Don.
That's what it is. That's what it is. So, you know, one week is low and the next week you're high. Not like that, but you know, you're high, everything's going great. Like sales, I've had a lot of people tell me their sales were tanked here, or we're going on in this. And now this week, everybody's been hitting me up and sending me stuff. Hey, my sales did this, I did that, I did this. You know, we've had some massive, you know, 4-digit days lately, you know, in just the one store on one single eBay thing. And eBay isn't a lot of my revenue these days as much as one. So I've been floored with the stuff going on this season. Again, that's why I say, if you're willing to put in the hard work, this is the biggest season in history for online selling and shopping. I could almost guarantee you beyond belief this will be the biggest season ever, even with the pandemic. If there wasn't a pandemic and these people around here, there's going to be some millionaires made this season in my mind. I've already seen a few that had some products come out that they weren't price gouging, just in general products, just in the last 4 or 5 months that are now rated in Wall Street Journal as millionaires for just doing some simpleton things. So, I mean, the opportunity, would you not agree with me? What's your take on the opportunities right now, Dom?
I think, I think there are, well, first of all, we obviously saw a really big jump in e-commerce sales in the springtime when COVID hit. Although, and I think there are big opportunities potentially for now, especially if there are more shutdowns. The only thing I'm concerned about is how much of an economic impact potential second shutdowns. They're not going to be like a national shutdown, but I mean, and in certain states could have on people's willingness to spend online. Are they going to buckle down more and just reduce their costs overall, even though they're forced to spend more for things, to buy things online compared to going into retail stores? Are they going to be really ultra selective in terms of what it is they're getting? And if so, you need to be able to tap into that as a reseller and branch into whatever those areas are. You got to follow market trends to figure out where they're going. So if you usually sell item A, and item A usually sells really well this time of year, but now because of the pandemic and stuff, more people are going towards category X. Go over to category X and start sourcing some stuff from there to start listing. So I'm optimistic, but at the same time, I'm always kind of like cautious in terms of what's going to happen, because the economy is in rough shape. So we'll see.
Fully agree with that. But there are, with some caveats. One caveat I would say is some of the items we sell is people have expendable income to begin with. They can buy it rain or shine or pandemic or anything else. Again, mostly collectibles. So I have kind of weighted very carefully into the categories that we deal in. Everybody doesn't have that same option with like retail and stuff like that, NOS items, FBA and all that kind of stuff. Again, there's opportunities, but you have to be, as with what Dom's saying too, very selective on going heavy in something that may not be doing very well or may not do very well in the future. If I buy bulk in NOS or for FBA or something, I buy it, and I know you can return some of it, but those rules have changed very drastically lately. You might be stuck with a bunch of merchandise if, say, item A isn't going very well, and you may not have enough money to buy item X if you've invested it all in the first item A. So Dom's got a very good point there. Again, it comes right back to me, at least, for targeted. Everything I do now is targeted. The majority of, like, let's say buttons, I've got like literally probably at this point now $11,000 invested in the buttons. The people that are going to buy those, 95% of those are retired and don't worry about the money. They're higher end purchasers. They're people that are lifelong people that collect that. So I know I don't have to worry about certain things. I have a secondary market for that as well. If eBay crashed in that market, I know where I can get top dollar still. In some cases, I list on the other source, the other platform, before I even send them to eBay. So again, I play the field, I play the markets, just, like Dom talking about knowing your areas. If one, again, I'm not trying to steer you from one platform to the other, just an overall aspect of it. If one platform may not have that aspect, you may still be able to move that item over to somewhere else and then put item X on the original platform and then still sell both. One option doesn't suit everybody, as everybody here knows. We're all different. Dom's got different philosophies, different thoughts, sells different. Even though we both sell some of the same items, they're not identically the same. I sell a ton of comic books here and there. I don't sell as many because I end up reading some of them and looking at the graphics, and I usually keep some of them. But we all like certain things and have the ability to still delve into them. Dom, I know, probably reads some of his comic books too. Am I correct?
Yeah, for sure.
Well, the same point. I can sit there and drool basically at something that I acquired, and there's no aspect of an item that I really like that I dislike. I don't mind the photographing. I don't mind the typing in. Dom said this earlier too. buying similar items saves you time from changing from category. So again, you're working smarter if you're targeting. So you're working smarter. You spend less time listing it. If you target to like pins, what were you doing? 2 or 3 photos for your pins?
Yeah, that doesn't require, that actually does not require tons of photos.
So that's
Yeah,
that's another good point
right,
on target. So
right,
again, clothing for me, I made good money on clothing. I just didn't like it. There was too many photos, too many returns, too many chances where I could miss a hole in a sleeve or a thread pulled or the label wasn't just right. And everybody who sells clothes knows those are issues that happen. I missed a spot once. It cost me money. I couldn't find the receipt. It was just a nightmare sometimes. So I've moved to areas. Again, some of them were thrown in my lap. I didn't look for them, but I moved into areas where I can get stuff that I don't have to worry about a lot of that. And again, I try to stick to categories that are, that people would have expendable income, meaning that they don't need to spend the
right.
money and they don't have a concern about spending the money. It's extra money to begin with. They already have the money.
Yep.
Like right now, I sold to one person yesterday like 9 cards for $75 a pop. That's just one of our sales there. I wouldn't be spending that even, with the money, just because you never know what's going to happen. But this guy is a professor. He's I don't know, maybe the school's paying for it. I don't really, it's not the consideration, but he buys from me all the time, even rain or shine. It doesn't matter what time. It's been 6 steady years of this guy buying. Slow season. There is no slow season for some items.
That's right. And some people.
It just depends. Like if Dom has X-Men #1, the annual or something, it's in 9 or 9.8 or something like that. Would you think you'd have any problem selling it any time of the year?
No.
None whatsoever. You never have to worry.
No.
I don't care if it went for 10 grand, 50 grand. If it was a specific issue, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Why don't you go into that maybe for a minute?
No, you're right. So, well, I'm not throwing this out there because I'm just throwing this out as an example. I don't have any affiliation of this place or whatever. But if you go over to a place like Hake's auction site, their website, you go and see some of the auctions they have for comic books and comic art, for example. And go there anytime during the year where you are struggling with your sales and think that people just aren't spending any money. You will see things like comic books and comic art selling for tens of thousands of dollars, even hundreds of thousands of dollars all year, every day, every month. And in the comic and comic art community, we tend to refer to those types of the people who buy those types of things and those types of sales and auctions as ones for doctors and lawyers, because that's who generally, that's the kind of like what Don's talking
100%.
about, or really high-end like business owners and stuff like that. But we just tend to call it doctor and lawyer money because those are the types of people. Because you think about it, who else is shelling out that kind of money for comic books and collectibles? It's people with those types of jobs, and they have that kind of disposable income. So there's money around, but what do they want to spend it on? They want to spend it on higher end pieces. They're not going to go on eBay and buy a $20 collectible. They want to spend more. So that's one of the reasons why I started to target more high-end pieces to go into my store, not exclusively, but to have some of that stuff there for those types of buyers, because there's all types of buyers. Some people just won't, this is actually a good point, Don. I never really heard you talk about it. We talk about often about the buyer who's looking for things, low, looking for things at the lower price. But there actually is and a lot of people have that mindset. That's what they're looking for a bargain, looking for a deal. But there literally are people out there that are looking to spend the most on something. They want the most expensive something, so they, that's what they want. They get like a pride and a joy out of that. So there are those types of people out there, and they collect.
100%. Now, I know the auction place he's talking about. I'm a heritage person. Again, it's just basically the same thing as that. Just everyone probably has one that they use, or most people do. If eBay is doing not so great in higher end stuff or something, or I have a PSA graded something, I usually, if it'll do better, I will send it off to say Heritage, and I'll get more money for it. I'll get top dollar because they draw out the folks who who enjoy the whole aspect of purchasing high-end stuff. They'll get all dressed up. They'll go out to the auction if it's an in-person auction. Not so much maybe right this minute with the pandemic, but it's a whole event, and they're proud to go out there and hold their paddle up and spend 10 grand on a comic book in near mint condition, just a pristine PSA graded or something. It's a thrill to some people. They couldn't afford it as a kid. They got the money, doctor, lawyer money now, and that's exactly what I see. So there is no one specific site that I would say is the best anymore, just because of that fact. Again, with auctions and stuff, I would never hesitate to buy something, again, like what I'm talking about, high-end comics and stuff. I would never hesitate if it's like a superb copy that, like newsstand fresh with not a crease or blemish to the spine, or perfect staples, no rust, pure white pages or something. I mean, I would never hesitate to shell out the big money, because it's there, the opportunity is there for it. It's easy money to some extent if you've got the bankroll to do it, I guess, is the point. And I enjoy those purchases and stuff, knowing that I'm going to bank that right back out to me in a very short period of time.
Right.
Like condition wise, 9.8. I know we're running long. I just realized the time. I don't know if you got just a couple minutes, or we can maybe end it in just a couple minutes with a good
I could go a little longer. I could go a little longer.
Okay, I don't want to drag it on. I know you work hard, and so do I. So we'll just maybe touch on some final thoughts and see where that takes us. If you want to throw some final thoughts out there, maybe, Dom, or something on work ethics.
We did focus a lot tonight on working hard and growth. I want to challenge everybody, since we are in the end of November, if you have not started to think about how you're going to grow and expand your business and what your goals are going to be for 2021, you definitely need to do that. I would advise even writing it down so you have it, concrete. Make it whatever those goals are, make them something that you could measure and that you could chart over the course of the year. Make it something that is reasonable to obtain, but also somewhat challenging to obtain. Because if you make it too easy, then it doesn't feel as good once you get there. And then you're kind of, you've got 6 months of the year left, and then you got to come up with something else. So try to come up with something that reasonably should take about a year. Like, for example, for YouTube, which is, this would be for YouTubers out there, but my goal was to try to get to 20,000 subscribers by the end of the year. I started the year with 10,000. I wanted to double it. And I'm just about at that point. I'm at 19.8 right now. So very close. And that was a goal. I mean, I worked hard all year to try to get towards that. I really tried improving my video content. I tried to take information from people who watch the videos to try to learn things, to grow, talk to other content creators like Don, and try to, do collaborations and stuff. And it's all things, if I felt like I was having a little bit of a setback in that area, like Don said, I had to then regroup and try to figure out, wait a minute, what am I doing wrong? How do I adjust? That type of thing. So whatever it is, whatever the goal is, you have to do that. And that's what I did over the course of the year with that one particular example. But one last point on it is while you do have to work hard, you also have to work smart. So that's why Don and I talked a little bit tonight about being efficient, because you could work hard, right? Driving around to every random garage sale all day, and you worked really hard doing that. You drove all these miles. You got out of the car each time. You did a great search up and down the driveway, around the house. You peeked under the bushes even. You looked everywhere. Okay, you worked really hard. But yet I went to one estate sale and got more stuff and better stuff than you did. So, and I worked hard too. But who works? It's a combination of working hard and working smart, not just going just hardcore, extreme, work hard, work hard, work hard. That's not always going to be what gives you the results. It's really got to be that combo.
Fully agree with that. I mean, again, no disrespect or crack on, sourcing however you have to do. If that means you drive around all over the place till you figure it out, that's what we did. That's what I'm sure Dom did. So if you got to do that, it doesn't matter. But at some point, you're going to have to think outside of that and how to change your structure of your business, to advance it, to look towards something else that's going to bring more in quickly and give you more time to be able to put more stuff. Again, most of the people that I have that I talk to run into problems getting enough stuff up, sourcing as well. So I mean, there's too many factors. If you can get a whole bunch of stuff in less time, you're going to beat both of those. You'll get more items quickly, and you'll have that time to list more things. So again, you got to think as well as work. So you're thinking hard, you're working hard. You know, it's a combination. Again, both of those things are what gets you to that point. Goals, though, again, goals, whatever you want to do with a goal, if you fix and you get to a goal, you make another one right away. I have another goal the minute I hit my first one. Again, we've changed our goals like 3-4 times. We've changed our plan, our business model 3 times just in the last few months. It doesn't matter if it changes. That keeps it fresh. It keeps it new for those who get bothered by the staleness or being trapped in your job. Wherever you work, you're going to have mundaneness to it where it seems like it's routine. But for me, routine means that I don't make mistakes. It means that I get better at the stuff that I do. I can figure out, you know, shortcuts and all that kind of stuff as well, too. Let's do the formalities here. Dom, Primetime Treasure Hunter. I think everybody should know who's in here, who he is, and his channel. There is a link in the description box right here. I've got it in the top of the chat, too. As well. So if you need any contacts or anything like that, he's a good guy to go to as well. Again, he loves answering tons of questions on comic books. So I'm not trying to send you a whole bunch there. I'm just joking around. But we all do like answering. You know, time obviously is always a factor with us. But I do appreciate you coming on, Dom. You know, you're pretty much always welcome here at any time. Christmas show.
I cannot wait. I am crying laughing from people in the chat cracking me up tonight.
Well, I appreciate everybody coming on. If you didn't hit the like button, hit the like button. One more call out for those in Patreon. I do have the first video. It's going to be a lesson from here. We're going to do some lesson videos. I'm going to have some homework. We'll have some paperwork that you can fill out some information on and follow along when I do the videos. So you'll be able to kind of grasp on some of the areas with keyword and SEO. Up today, it's up right now. So check that out for those in Patreon. Any final thoughts before I click that end broadcast button here, Dom?
No, I think that pretty much does it all for tonight.
I can't keep up with I'm terrible when I have somebody on with the chat. That's my biggest problem when I have somebody on. I just terrible on the chat. Well, I honestly appreciate him coming on. You'll see us together again. I appreciate everybody coming on to the show as well. If you haven't hit the like button, please, please, please hit the like button for us and show some love. And I will click the end and off we go.